Hello, welcome to the stream, everybody. Hey, John, how's it going? Welcome. Glad you can make it tonight. Be a great night. Really excited. Smells good in the house right now. Let people kind of filter in, as per usual. How's everybody's weeks going? Don't forget to use chat. Let me know how things are doing. We're gonna do a little beer open here in a second. Talk about the sponsor of the stream, aka the beer I'm drinking for this, because that's how we like to roll. And oh man, I really love Fort George, Jeff. You know this. You could just bring me all Fort George beer, and I'd always be happy. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of have a great night. This is one of my favorite things: eat, cook, share. It's a great food. It's like chicken noodle soup, but it's I think so much better, more fun. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. Hopefully, everyone can hear me and see me, and everything's going well. Did I drop back down to one person? Toso, nice. Support that local, man. Verboten, where it's at. Did I drop? Should probably have done a router reset before we started this. Oh well. Now we know. So yeah, hope everybody's having a good week. Snow for us here in Colorado was pretty trash a couple of days ago. Super heavy. Trees, branches, trees, all kinds of stuff was down. Shoveling was a pain, literally a pain in my back. But it's starting to melt. A little rain today. Tomorrow's looking nice. Next week's looking great. Hoping to get some golf in at socially distant, appropriate golf with my kid this week. Should be a good time. So hope that yeah, everybody is excited and has a good week. Kind of. What up, Bowman? Adam, Four Roses, nice. I'm gonna butcher your wife's pronunciation, but Majkin. Sorry, you told me that it was a couple years ago, and I've not practiced. So we'll work on that. Promise. Maybe next happy hour you can help me out with that. Macon. Fuck. I'm making. Bowman, what are you drinking tonight? Something good, hopefully. Something from the cellar. What's up, Cyrus? Go a few more minutes going and Shock Top for the win. Gross. Super gross. Nothing good comes from Shock Top. Somebody picked up some beer for me for this, so we're gonna open this beer here in a second. We're gonna talk about beer for a minute, and then we're gonna drink beer, and then we're gonna start on the sauce. We're gonna start on soup. Pretty excited. Hopefully, you guys saw some of the posts, the stock post. Love if some of you guys have made some stock or some broth at home on your own ahead of this, and are kind of planning some pho for dinner. I know that my family's having pho for dinner tonight. I'm gonna make a little bit for this, and then we'll make family style a little bit later once I have a chance to kind of break down, clean up, and put things away from stream. And then yeah, like this has been looking forward to this all week. Making the broth that worked this week, like it was real rough not to come home and have pho for dinner that night for sure. Love it. So we'll give it like one more minute, and then we'll jump into the action. Yeah, should be a good time. I'm really excited to get down on this. Hey, Carrie, thanks. Oh man, 27 people. Such a great beer. Such a great beer. Carrie, I'm so happy you guys enjoyed the paella. That was like easily probably the best one I've made out of this run. Like I was super happy with all of it. Had the just man, it was gorgeous. The wife took pictures. I'll post pictures of that one later. And don't forget, I'm selling paellas. Like that's what I do now. Apparently, I make a lot. We're up to 10, so feeling good. I deliver if within reason. You know, if it's like Telluride or San Diego or Portland for some of you, we'll have to have a longer discussion about how long you want to wait for that paella, and maybe I just come to your place and make it. We don't have to do. You can do without seafood, dude. Like I got chicken and pork and sausage. Like we can make it. We can make it all meat. It's fine. Heavy meat, heavy vegetable. I mean, I can maybe put like a little bit of like shrimp in like one little wedge for you, and we'll call it like a little pizza slice for Adam, so he can have that quality. Because seafood is super good. Um, any thoughts for what we want to do next week? We can do paella if we want, or which is cool. I think I'll just be posting like little snippets, and I'm gonna try to figure out how to record myself and then upload videos. That's kind of on my list for this week to try and figure out. Um, I got a new light and holder for my camera, so I can kind of do those things. Found this week that I can't mobile stream until I'm at 1,000 subscribers, which I don't really ever see happening because 1,000 subscribers is crazy. So we're yeah. So thoughts on thanks, Adam. There's no secrets. It's just it's patience and love is all it is. And I won't give you like all the secrets for the sofrito and stuff like that. Like we'll just talk about basic paellas. But I've been like thinking about what other things that we can do that I want to share. Like I've been kind of want to do some little Creole. Like a guy on my Instagram is making gumbo tonight. I thought a gumbo or an etouffee could be a lot of fun. Do a little dark roux. Talk about Trinity, talk about flavor, talk about filet and how important it is, and crystal hot sauce, the only hot sauce that is approved for gumbo. So just some thoughts. Feel free to throw comments in uh, in the group or hit me up, DM me, email, text, messenger, or whatever. Because I'm down to talk about anything, but I'll kind of figure out some stuff for this week if that sounds good with y'all. So tonight's stream is again sponsored by Tinmouth Beerworks. We're drinking some Boots Are Made for Hopping. Little Pink Boot Society beer this evening. I had I like the new Shorty Crowlers, by the way, guys. This is really fun. I had a gentleman pick up some beer for me on his way over to pick up some paella. Yeah, traveling brew. Oh yeah, we have a sump pump because there's so much water. It's cleaning water out. It's good times. So, cheers. I mean, we can do some other Spanish food. There's some other really fun stuff we could talk about. Next week's supposed to be pretty nice. We could talk about coca. We could talk about coca is like pizza kind of. It's a flatbread that is like grilled or hot baked, and then you assemble toppings and kind of melt cheese and finish at the end. Always kind of fun. Coca de cepis is a mushroom one I've done a lot in the past. We could talk about I'll do a research. That could be fun. This is really tasty. So pros to the Tin Myth and Mash Love crew for this. It's a great beer, and the Pink Boot Society. Good times. Love you, ladies. If you're in the stream or watching the VOD later on. So pho is awesome. It is pretty approachable. I'll throw a couple links and maybe some recipes and some ideas for y'all to check out. Maybe tonight if I have the motivation, or sometime tomorrow when I'm kind of chilling, and we'll kind of see what feedback. I'll maybe post a couple different region areas, and we can kind of some places it's going to be like a stretch for me because maybe I don't have a ton of experience. Like Indian was a huge stretch for me. We'll see how it goes. It'll be a lot of fun. Pho is like it's like chicken soup. It is a very comforting. It's an everyday dish in Vietnam. More often not eaten as a breakfast food and not as a dinner food. I generally eat at dinner, but the thought of eating this for breakfast does sound pretty awesome because it's savory and it's filling and it's warming. And it checks all those boxes. Hit me in the good spots. It makes me just like want to get going on the day. So we're kind of getting into that. So posted broth recipe. I think it's a really solid broth recipe. Hope you guys were able to find bones pretty much everywhere. You can check out like all your traditional grocery stores. Even if you're feeling up to it, hit up some of the Carnicerias, some of the more Hispanic-based meat shops definitely will have a variety of beef bones. You can mail order them, but don't. I mean, go to Safeway and buy them, or Supers, or support your local. I haven't seen any at Sprouts, and I'm not sure if Esch's has those sort of things. I don't generally get down to Esch's or shop there. Save that for people who need it more than I do. But I got mine at Whole Foods because I saw them and they were there. So this is briefly like that charred ginger, charred onion just provides a little more depth. Hitting that sugar, you can even use white sugar. I know I put a note saying light brown. If you don't use light brown, like white sugar or mirin works really well. You're just adding some balance, a little bit of sweetness to, because you're going to add a lot of fish sauce. You're going to add a lot of like savory componentry when we build our bowls for the meal, and you just want to really have that balance. All about balance. This meal is also can be completely gluten-free if you use tamari instead of regular soy, which is pretty awesome. And depending on the fish sauce, some fish sauces use wheat as well. So kind of read your labels, and if they're not in English, well, I'm sorry. I don't speak Vietnamese or Thai generally. I'm not something I don't think I can learn because I'm old now. Yes, perfect, John. Thank you. There you go. Loveland Peeps. There's a great spot. Again, they're supporting that local. I'm sure Philly Nix probably does as well. I would actually just guarantee it. In Fort Collins, over on Drake and LeMay, over by the work spot. Supporting that local, and I bet you his are really solid quality bones. Marrow bones are more expensive than just buying general beef soup bones. Marrow, like in restaurants, and if you're feeling decadent, marrow is inside the bones, and it's great roasted and then spread on toast. But it adds, like, when you use marrow bones in your pho broth or any beef stock, it just adds a lot of depth. It adds that unctuousness, that coatiness. It just adds like a really great rounded flavor. And I recommend throwing at least one in there, just if you could find one. Just it's a little pricey, but I think you will be thankful when you have your big bowl of pho in front of you and you're like getting that depth, and it's kind of sticky, but you didn't boil it. You didn't make bone broth. You didn't boil it for 24 hours or simmer for 24 hours to get all that nutrients and all that gelatinous material out of the bones. Like, you just added some cheater bones. It's like adding chicken feet to chicken stock. Adding like 2 chicken feet to a chicken stock, you'll see a significant change in like body buildup of your chicken stock. Or if you're filling up to pig's feet, works really well. A ton of gelatinous material in there. It turns into like stock jam or the jiggles. It's good times. So I'm going to move you down. We're going to kind of look at all the playful things we have on the board, and we're going to talk some tools. We're going to talk some tricks, and we'll get going from there. So without further ado, let's do this. Drink. The orange comes out as it's warmed up a little bit. I like it. All right, so we're down. Hopefully we can see. Yes. Okay. So maybe a little more down. There we go. Yes. So I have my pho broth. Like, this makes that recipe I put after I simmered mine for 3 hours. I got a little over 4 quarts of liquid, which is plenty for a family of 4 or 5 or 6. Like, it's a lot of stock, a lot of broth. I'm actually going to re-simmer this, and I'm going to chill most of it. I'm going to freeze this for future meals. This freezes incredibly well. Put in a couple of those deli containers, and they last. And you pull it out, like, as you'll see at the end of the stream, like, pho is the perfect, like, oh shit, I don't have a plan for dinner. What can we do? Oh, full broth, rice noodles, couple odds and ends out of the fridge, and bam, you have like a wonderful soup. So hopefully I can help shed some light on that. So rice noodles, every grocery store that I've been to in northern Colorado has some sort of rice noodles. Chen's, just because I like supporting local, gets them as well. These are Bon Pho. Like, so always look for pho in the title, in the descriptor, because that is it's a good sign, and it just means that you're getting the right stuff. Because some rice noodles are like really thin, some can get really wide. this is the perfect what you need for your bowl. I have the beef that I simmered. This is a chuck cross section that I simmered till it's tender. We're gonna chop it up and put it in the bowls as well. I have a serrano. Choose the chili that you want the most. You generally are not really intended to eat it. It's more to add heat to your broth. So you put it in there and let it. You stir it around as you're composing your bowl and like you're slurping and you're enjoying your noodles and all your stuff. That just adds. It continues to build that warming heat. This is supposed to like cool you off because Vietnam is incredibly hot and humid, and the heat helps you sweat, which helps actually in turn to cool you off. We have some Thai basil. I got this at King Supers. Thai basil is awesome. Has like a basily minty. Yes, thanks, Adam. Hit that like, hit that follow, subscribe, whatever. I'll try and say that again at the end as well. Thai basil is just like a really cool. If you've never used it before, if you see it, buy it. Like, don't use it as traditional basil. It's not gonna be good for pesto. It's gonna be good in Sunday gravy. Like, it's a different spice. It's wonderful. The stalks are incredibly woody, so you're definitely gonna want to use the leaves. We have some cilantro, and we'll talk about cilantro and kind of the couple different things we're gonna do with it here in a second. We got some scallions. Those spring onions we used last week also would work really well here. But for like year-round functionality of this dish, man, scallions, you can always find scallions. They're always crazy cheap. We got a yellow onion, one I've already pre-peeled, and we're gonna talk about this in a second. Lime, bean sprouts. I found these at Lucky's. You'll want to look for a born-on date or use-by date. You want to be as far away from that date as you possibly can. And when you're looking in the bag, you want to see that like there's no mushy bits. It's not really heavy moisture in the bag. If everything feels fairly firm and the stalks themselves are fairly bright white, not translucent. These can become very, very poisonous. This is why some grocery stores don't carry them anymore. So you definitely do not want to buy them if they're not fresh. I've had good luck at Sprouts. I've had good luck at Trader Joe's. I've had good luck at Safeway. I can generally find them. I usually will, like, I'm going to do pho for dinner tonight. I'm buying these at the grocery store on my way home. I don't like to put in my fridge because they can go from, oh, they're great tonight, and then I look at them the next night and they're just a mess. Like, I don't like risking that, and I know that I'm going to try and get the freshest batch I can. Because then, if you can't find a fresh batch, then you have to make that change. Like, do we want to do pho tonight? Can we mess around with something different, or can we adapt that recipe to fit the ingredients we have? Rule of thumb also with the bean sprouts, you want to rinse these really good. Running water in a colander, cold water. If you want them to be really, really like crunchy, crispy, like over the top, like big bite when you're eating them, soak them in ice water for like 10 minutes before, and that will help really crisp up the bean sprout. Like, you will see a like really noticeable change in how much crispier they are, and it's really awesome. Like, all like raw vegetables like do that pretty well. Like, I will throw in like shaved onion, shaved radishes, really great for ice water. Even like refreshing herbs or lettuces, just dunk it in a bath of ice water really quickly, and you can refresh like a little more wilted looking leafy vegetable, and it will come back. It's very brief, and once you've done that, you're going to want to use that leaf immediately, because then you're going to accelerate the decomposition after it starts to dry. So play around with it, have fun with it. I have my red boat fish sauce, best stuff you can buy. I have my super fancy soy sauce that I picked up at H Mart in Westminster, and I have sambal oelek. This is the other green lid that you should always have in your fridge. I'm sure I talked about this in the ramen episode. It's on the list of resources that Jen posted on the group page. This stuff, like, sriracha is sriracha. Sriracha is just heat in a bottle. Sambal has this like amazing, like, has some garlic in it, and the aroma and the flavor is just, I think, a little bit more robust and more interesting to eat than just eating some sriracha, personally. I did not find that shaved beef that I mentioned this morning on the post. The line for Trader Joe's was like 45 minutes, and I just didn't want to stand around outside waiting to get in, so I didn't go there. But I was at Lucky's. I found a piece of like a chuck stick, and so it's in the freezer right now. I have one of these. This is a Japanese mandolin. This is one of my most useful, most used tools outside of my knife and a microplane that I have in my kitchen. It comes with different attachments to slide here for like julienne and cutting fries, blah, blah, blah. I don't really use that very often because I just want to shave things real thin. Has a nice single, these come in different widths. So I prefer and recommend the single screw, because then you know that you're not worried about balancing two screws to get the width and the depth that you want. I've done in restaurant settings had a double screw. Man, giant pain in my ass. I could never get like a perfect slice. So I'm going to use this 2 different times tonight. I'm going to use it now because I'm going to shave some of this onion. So I have this nice, there we go. So this nice yellow onion. I'm going to leave all of the root attached. I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to take my mandolin and get rid of that crap. And first, like I do like a first run, and I want to check and see, like, you want these fairly thin because you're going to put these in raw right into your bowl with the broth, and you don't want it to be like a big onion flavor. It's adding flavor, and it's adding something else that's crunchy, adding something else that just adds to the depth. Drink. I like that. I may do it just a little bit thinner. With using a mandolin like this, it comes with a guard. I recommend using it, especially if you're not comfortable or you've never really experimented or used a mandolin like this before, because it will take fingers off very, very quickly. I don't have any like fingernail or fingertip or really any feeling in the tip of this thumb from scraping it off with a mandolin so many times that my body was like, no, we're done with this. We can't regrow this. You just keep destroying it, and we just keep wasting resources. I try to do a flat on it so that I keep everything out of the way. It's just like when we were talking about that claw method for cutting. Keep all of them soldiers out of the way, because they will definitely want to get cut if you're not careful. And this onion, the outer layer is pretty rough, not pretty like it just wants to fall apart. So I'm gonna call that done. Pretty happy with how this all came out. Looks real nice. Hopefully we can see everything. I can only see a shadow. Grabbing another dish. I know I had another dish for a reason. You can also soak these in ice water for 10-15 minutes, and especially if it's a spicier onion. So if you start, like, if it really brings a tear to your eye as you're slicing that onion, go ahead and throw that in that ice water, or just even some cold water. If you maybe don't have a lot of ice or whatnot lying around, because you want to have that, it pulls some of that heat and that spice and that like intense oniony flavor out, so it's a little bit more mild and mellow. Good for just general use of onions. Get a little chili slice as well. Chili's a little soft. Chilies and knives. Once a chili gets a little soft, it just doesn't want to. The skin doesn't like to be cut, regardless of how sharp your knife is. And I literally just cut this or sharpened this knife today, so it's good times. We have. I'm gonna take some scallions. I'm gonna use the scallion in 2 different ways. Peel off some of these outer layers, or don't want to, like, I don't like the way they look. They're a little soft. Like with onion, like green onions, it's really easy to peel off what you don't like. So there's gonna be 2 different uses here. We're gonna throw the greens are gonna be in the bowl as like a garnish piece, and then we're gonna use some of the whites. I'm gonna throw the whites in with the stock right now, just add a little more flavor. So for these greens, like fairly fine, like you want to make sure you have a really sharp knife. You should always have sharp knives, like regardless. But just really, really as thin as you can get them, because they're kind of floating, and you want to be able to catch them and pick them up in the noodles when you're slurping, and then in your spoon when you are as well as slurping. Pho broth is great on it, and it's just drinking too. I think I always finish my bowl because I enjoy the broth. So I got a nice thin slight chop on these. You know the knife is sharp because A, it didn't sound like crunching, it sounded like whoosh, and B, when you look at your green onions, like they're not like really like you don't see a lot of wet bruise marks. If you're bruising it, you're just like releasing essential oils, and it's going to be more spice and not nearly as like flavorful as what you want. The lime is a garnish piece, so let's have some wedged up. My kid really loves lime. My wife and her pho is not big on the lime. It is what it is. From here, I'm going to start tasting this broth and just kind of seeing where we're at. Mine is a little heavy on the sweet. The palm sugar just gave a little bit more than I was expecting, so I'm going to eyeball it. I recommend for you guys, if this is like your first time attempting this, go with like an eighth or a quarter teaspoon at a time, and kind of write that down in your recipe so that you kind of know, because fish sauce can go quick. Like you can be thinking that things are going real well, and then you free pour that fish sauce, and then your whole house smells like feet, and everyone's like, "What the hell are you doing with dinner?" A little more. Like fish sauce, when you open the bottle, you're gonna be like, if you have no experience with it, you're gonna be instantly like, "What did I do? Why did I do this? This is not what I meant to do." Resist that urge, because it adds this flavor, this depth, and this. Oh man, it's awesome. It's a lot like Worcestershire without the Worcestershire. Nice. That's also a really good beer. I feel like all these, maybe I can get a sponsorship from Timoth and just drink Timoth beer on all my streams. Just saying. Shameless plug. Love it. I'm gonna add a little bit more of both. This is kind of the doctoring phase. We just want to make sure everything gets to that point where we're really, really happy with the end result. Because the work I'm doing now saves me that work later on when I am doing pull this out for a random Tuesday, oh shit night. Like this will really help me out those nights. So then I just know that it's perfect. I'm really happy where that's at. So you want it to taste like, have good balance, so like sweet. You want to be able to get that spice, that star anise, that cinnamon, that clove. You want it to taste like, it shouldn't taste like beef. It should add. Thank you. I'm sure that was more Mark than Carrie. Just saying. East Coast bias in the house. What? You want to get everything, but it shouldn't be like heavy in any one thing. It should be, you get everything on every part of your taste buds, your mouth, your throat. Like you want to get all those flavors, and nothing should be dominant, because that's what the final product is for that bowl, will be that kind of customizing it. That's the beauty of fuzz. Like you can customize your bowl to how you like it. So I'm going to let this kind of hang. I'm going to notch it up a little bit. I got a pot of water over here as well. This is where we're going to get our rice noodles going. I'm going to grab this chunk of meat out of the freezer. It's in there for like half hour or so. I got a nice piece of meat from Lucky's. It's Piedmontese beef. I don't know what that is. It's a new brand that I guess they're carrying. Because now they're independent. There's 4 stores now of Lucky's. So I'm trying to support them because they have cool stuff. Let me grab a plate. I want to keep my board clear of all things beef. So for this, I'm going to use this mandolin again. Oh, yeah. I hear that, Terry. It was a rough night. It was a happy hour for those. Every Friday night, happy hour. Next week, we've been graciously sponsored-ish or supported by Craft Beer and Brewing. They're donating the use of their corporate Zoom account, so we don't have to relog every 40 minutes. So cheers to Jamie and the Craft Beer crew. That's super awesome. But last time was, ooh, man. Every Friday night, I feel like every stream I'm saying that. So maybe Friday nights I should try to tone it down. I don't know, whatever. So I'm gonna use this. If you're going to a butcher shop and you want thin meat, ask your butcher. Like I'm sure Nick or D&T Meats in Loveland probably will also thinly shave some beef for you. If you have a meat slicer at home, do it. I don't, so I'm not. So I have found that you can also have an incredibly sharp knife and kind of hope that you can do it. But you want this fairly thin because we're going to use the broth to cook our meat in the bowl. So as we're ladling our stock onto our bowl, that's where the cooking process is going to come through. So we want to make sure this is as thin as we can possibly get, because if not, we're going to have, it's just going to get kind of chewy. We're going to have to maybe microwave that soup, like trying to avoid as much of those complications as we can. So I'm going to use my mandolin. You do what you will. I recommend just trying to find that thin beef. If you're at like H Mart sells it vacuum packed and frozen, ready to go. It's more generally like ribeye for bulgogi, which is an amazing Korean dish, but it really works really well for pho as well. And it's already frozen, so you can easily stock up on that in the freezer really easily. If you're going down to H Mart, buy 4 or 5 packs, it's already set. You're good to go. So I'm going to take some noodles. Just cooking a little bit. So rice noodles are fun because I think rice noodles are really cool. I don't need a ton of them again, so off stream, I'm going to just kind of rip out what I need out of the bag. Like a good handful is probably all you need for like one person. So I'm going to go in. Like with spaghetti in a pot, you just got to let them soften. And then they should all fit in our pot. Look at that. Make sure you stir them a little bit, like we talked about during the carrot bolognese episode. Like they still will stick, and we don't want big clumps. Like clumps of noodles are gross. I think anyway. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit and just kind of let them soften and simmer, and then we'll strain them. So back to our beef. I like to look at the grain and make sure we're going cross grain so that we just don't have big chunks of chewy meat. I'm going to cut this a little bit so I don't need a ton, and then yeah, I'm going to go like this. So after shaving, like the one again, I'm looking for something fairly thin. Like I'd probably try and go a little bit thinner. We'll see if the mandolin and the beef are going to work for me on this. I said eye around flank works. So I think any steak ribeye is really good with this, but because like it's not worth spinning the broth on the noodles. You want the broth to eat the broth, and it's not going to add really that much to the noodle. You want the noodle to kind of be its own item in the soup. You want to be able to get like I don't know. That's just what I got, I guess. I've always done this. This is how it's done traditionally, and it's just easier. Why waste the money you spend on broth on cooking noodles? Because this is more of a peasant, poor man's dish. So using the resources and trying not to spend them unwisely, I guess. So something to ponder for another stream. Any beef that you can get thin sliced is going to work really well. Pulled chicken, like if you have some leftover rotisserie chicken, perfect. This is a great space for that. It doesn't have like traditionally, yes, it's beef. We also could. I'm going to throw in this cooked meat. If you had any chunks of tendon, that can go in there. If you go to a Vietnamese restaurant, they'll have tendon, they'll have brisket, they'll have flank steak that's cooked, they'll have rare beef, they'll have. You can get tripe sometimes if you're feeling really like you want to try new things and push yourself. If you're not a big tripe person, I really like tripe. I think it's kind of fun. It's all about texture, and tripe's texture is pretty friggin' unique in my opinion. And like it's a chew. It's a different way to enjoy, I guess, and do things. And it's utilizing cuts that you can afford. And in Vietnam, like you try to use, if you have the access, you try to use everything because it all costs a lot of money. And this dish like ramen came out of a need of utilizing product that wasn't used very often or was really affordable for that working class. And for pho, there's like there's two schools of thought for pho. All right, I'm gonna go with this is enough for one portion. So this, and then I can put this back in the freezer because it could be a little bit, it's still a little soft in the center. I want this to be a little bit firmer because it will shave a little more cleanly. I'm not super happy with that, but I don't want it too frozen because I want to eat later too. I'm gonna get a little hand wash on real quick over here off stream. You can see that we have some stuff coming together real nicely. I'm pretty happy. Noodles are getting there. I'm gonna give them a stir here in just 1 second and see kind of where we're at on the doneness. Yeah. Getting there. Still pretty chewy. And not even like good chewy, but like holy crap, it's chewy. Two trains of thought. I'm gonna go back to where I was talking about. There is a northern and a southern. So a northern is from Hanoi, and it's a lot cleaner. A little more use of spice, a little more of like the spices in the broth. A little bit bigger on the herbs and a little less of the condiment. And then a more southern, more Saigon has more of this garnish sauce, has a little more going on in the bowls, and a little less like you're making it yourself, a little more like the bowl comes like with those added meats, those added textures is more of a Saigon thing. A couple of cool books out there. I can't remember the names of them. I'll try to remember. I read about the different schools of thought. The Slanted Door Cookbook is amazing. Slanted Door is a restaurant in San Francisco. Highly recommend the restaurant and the cookbook. Really cool stuff in there. And then just any like Vietnamese cookbook that looks like it's authentic. I think it's clearly it was written by a Vietnamese person. I'll tend to go grandma because I think grandmas of every culture have the best resources and knowledge of cooking because they've been doing it their whole lives. So I kind of like to lean on that the best I can, I guess. So I'm going to turn the broth up a little bit so we can get a good boil on this and we can get going on building our bowl. The noodle's almost ready. Got our bean sprouts. They're all nice and clean. Pretty happy with that. How's everybody doing? We enjoying it so far? Everybody having fun? Drinking beers or Pepsi? Hope so. I'm also going to take a little bit of this. So you can see there's a lot of like cool connective tissues. These little these are different musculature in the calf of the cow. And so getting we want a little bit of this. We're going to cut kind of like this so there's not big pieces of it. And this will be kind of floating for that textural piece. So this is what we use to help give us more flavor in our broth as we were simmering it the other day. You take this piece of meat out when you are happy with the texture. You can let it go all the way to like, I can pull it and make it into, I can make it into like shredded beef taco meat, or you can be like, okay, I really like that's like still got a little chew, a little texture, a little meatiness to it. It's really up to you. It's what do you like the best, and how can you make it yours, essentially. So I got my other strainer out for our noodles. We're gonna go a bowl. So for pho, the bowl for pho is a big deal. Here we go. You want a big bowl, like a big bowl. I like big bowls. This is one of our workhorses we have at the house. You go to a Vietnamese restaurant, it always comes in a big bowl. You want that aroma to hit you in the face. You want to be like, just smashes you in the face when they put it down in front of you. You got your plate of garnishes in the center of the table that has your lime, your herbs, your chili, your bean sprouts, because you want to be like instantly like salivating when that bowl hits the table, and you're just like, I gotta have this in my life. And the wider the bowl is, the more more of that aroma hits you in the face. Also, bigger the bowl, higher the sides, the hotter it's going to stay, so it cooks that meat as you're putting things together. So I'm gonna go back down. Good. All right. I for home pho, I don't float on top because I want to make sure I have as much chance for our meat to cook. So I layer my beef down at the very bottom so that I can make sure that I'm going to ensure a good cook on all of it. All right, move this off. From here, we're going to go a little bit of this shaved white onion. This is just bowl prep. This isn't garnish. This is just bowl prep. This is what every bowl should have regardless. A little bit of this meat right here. Yeah, like that. Looks good, right? Turn off my burner here. Noodles are done. Drain. Don't toss your noodles in oil or anything. They're gonna be sticky. That's just the nature of the noodle. They're just gonna be sticky. From here, cook noodle right on top. I recommend doing this when they're as hot as possible because it just helps. Everything should be hot and stay hot and be hot all the time. So we're gonna get the ladle out of. So much crap everywhere. Does everybody have like their tool thing in their house that is like overstocked with a bunch of crap that you use some of the time? Welcome to my tool drawer. All right, so I got broth, I got bowl, and we're just gonna go right on top. Boom. I mean, just like you can just see the steam. Oh, it smells so good. So excited. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this off. So from here, it's all about how can we make this ours. Oh man, that makes me happy inside. It's all about customization. How can we make this? How do we make this ours? So got our chopsticks. Yes, my broth is a little bit probably darker than most because the plum sugar I had just was darker, added more color. That's not a result of any like cooking on the bones or any roasting or anything else that I put in. It's just due to the sugar. If you use light brown sugar, you probably have a very similar result. If you don't like color because you think that it's a little too brown and doesn't hit that traditional pho, use white sugar. That's all I got for you. So from here, I'm just going to stir, check the cook of my beef. I'm pretty happy with it's getting there. And from here, I'm going to customize. I'm going to throw a couple of these chilies in. If you're really into the heat, Bowman, a little Thai bird chili would be really, really good in here. Just saying. So get some chilies in here, and then green onions, and then at the table, like it's custom garnish. So they always have like big, like washed everything. So just tear leaves with cilantro. Use the stems. Grow a really cool, great flavor in cilantro stems. Unless they feel very, very woody and have like a dark color, they're tender. Use them. Just make sure they're in like good bite-sized pieces. And the process of breaking up the herbs on your bowl just adds another layer of aroma that you're getting. Like you're getting that fresh herb smell. Like the same with the Thai basil. So we have this Thai basil. Just gonna rip it off the stem, and like it makes you more hungry. And you're going through the work of customizing your bowl. Like you're just like, man, this just smells so good. I'm so excited for what I'm gonna get out of this. I like that at this point. Give it a little stir. Make sure I get those herbs in there to help really start infusing that broth. Take some of our nicely washed bean sprouts. Put them in here because bean sprouts are like provide that crunch that you're going to want and need in this dish. From here, I'm gonna grab a spoon. Yes, I have a whole stock of Asian spoons in my house. Now, from here, I'm just like, okay, what what can I do? Traditionalists would be have a little dish on the side. They'll have a mix of sriracha and hoisin. I don't have hoisin because I don't like hoisin personally. I think it's too sweet. Traditionally, what you should be doing, you take that piece of meat and you run it through both the sauces before you eat it separately from your noodles, and you slurp your noodles and drink your broth. I kind of like I don't like, I just don't need that. I'd rather just have everything in my bowl. So from here, I'm gonna add maybe just a touch more soy because I think it just could hit a little more salt. And then I'm gonna hit the sambal up pretty hard because I enjoy a nice pack of heat. And then I get a good stir. And then you'll see your broth start to change color. Like, I don't know if you can see the red, but it's getting a little more red. I can smell that chili, that mixing with those sweets, that the broth and the aroma of the spices. And then I like to add a little fresh lime just at the very end on top of it all. Just adds just a little bit of acid, because so far we haven't added any acid to this bowl at all. And this helps add just like that a little bit to finish. And from here, for me personally, this is perfection. I like from here. Oh yeah, I'm slipping one hand and I'm drinking broth, where I'll load up and take like a big spoon of broth and noodles and meat and all at the same time. It's heaven. I mean, it's heaven. Come on. So that's kind of it. So what's great about this is like it's not hard. Like once a month you do a big batch. Like you can easily, this recipe scales really well. So if you want to do double it and you're going to get 2 gallons of broth, like freeze that in quarts in the freezer in your chest converted keys are now chest freezer because you had to have a freezer again, and it'll keep. And then like pull it out. Like it's cold and snowy, I want pho. Pull that broth out. Rice noodles literally keep forever and are crazy cheap. Pull out a bunch of rice noodles. I always have cilantro in my house. Like literally, I always have cilantro because it's one of my favorite herbs and it's like in everything. Some cilantro. Also, always have limes for the exact same reason, because sometimes I just like Mexican. It's my thing. And bam, you have like instant meal, almost like perfect for lunch. This, after you've made your bowl, this does not reheat well. The rice noodles will disintegrate and turn to a weird gummy mess. So if you save broth and stuff, you can take some cooked and reheat the next day for lunch. But this bowl will not be good next day. Texture will be really weird, and the flavor will be really off. I don't recommend it at all. But this is just like so versatile. Try it for breakfast. Like I have it. I love it. I love it. Provides a really great energetic boost to my day, and it's freaking tasty. Really good with a very very light adjunct heavy lager. Perfect. I drink a lot of that on hot days. I'll eat big bowls of pho and Height, which is a Korean beer, which is pretty much water. It's like 4% and it's crystal clear and has a little bit of pale yellowness. Perfect though, like because I get like mine spicy. I like it aggressively spicy with lots of jalapeno and a ton of the sambal. And so like I'm sweating, and that beer just is like a nice quencher. You will get a little bit of like a bloat. I call it the pho bloat because there's a lot of sodium. Soy sauce is really heavy in sodium, so you'll feel that. It goes away in literally like an hour. But it's very filling. It's also very filling. It's a soul dish for me. I think this is up there with ramen and chicken noodle soup. Is like it's soul. It is like that, an honest representation of food. Comes in PET bottles at the 1 liter size, right? It does actually. Yes, it does. Daegi in North Fort Collins in Old Town, Korean restaurant. They have it. I think Saw has it. My favorite place to go generally for like Korean food is off 104th. There is Seoul Korean barbecue and sushi. They do the whole tabletop thing. They have Height. Unfortunately, I can't recommend any pho places in town. The closest, well, actually, you can, but hopefully they'll survive. Hopefully survive this. They're currently closed, unfortunately. In Fort Collins, there's Saigon up on kind of by campus. Does pretty legit. Their broth is never consistent, ever. Each of them I've never had the same broth. Sometimes it's overly spice heavy. Sometimes it's overly sweet. Sometimes it's very bland. Like it's hard when I'm like I know I can make it. The place kind of behind Trader Joe's and what used to be the Hobby Town. It's looked like literally I can't believe it's still there. Hole in the wall spot. A really amazing Vietnamese food there. Don't think they're gonna make it because of how small they were, and they were just like nobody really knew about them because they're kind of hidden away. The other places I've had in town, I haven't been blown away. I've been impressed. There's a couple really great places near H Mart in Westminster. There's one off of 76th. Was that right side? With Sion, I went there in February when I went to H Mart. Awesome. If you go a little bit further south on Federal or even Wadsworth and get towards a little bit closer to Chinatown or Vietnamese town, I guess you'll see like there's a couple more really good spots. The number in their name is the street that they're on. That is actually tradition from Vietnam. Like they'll be like, I'm Pho 58th because I'm on 58th Street. That's what it is. Those places are pretty legit. And then you can hit H Mart up, and you can hit Four Noses up, and then you can hit all amazing breweries in that area while you're doing that little road trip. Just saying. Any other questions? And before we kind of finish this up and I make dinner and eat this because holy crap, I'm starving right now. I wasn't hungry to start. I think H Mart has more diversity for non-Chinese specific. I think Pacific Ocean is very Chinese heavy. Great produce and really cool selection of a lot of like really ubiquitous items you can find like that you can find use for. But H Mart like has broader. You can find heavy Vietnamese, Korean, Thai, Cambodian there, as well as a little bit of Chinese words like Korean, Indian, and Vietnamese like ingredients is within like one aisle of Pacific Ocean. For like bowls and for your spoons and chopsticks, Pacific Ocean has an amazing like double aisle stock with this really cool bowls and plateware, very authentic Asian serviceware, and it's a really great spot. H Mart has a lot of it as well, and cooking utensils you can spend lots of money in both these spaces on just non-food. And I find use for most of it. I always leave spending more money than I intended because I'm always like, oh man, I really need that. But yeah, love it. And I just like the feel of H Mart. I had a couple of bad experiences at Pacific Ocean, some seafood where I walked in the door and I could just smell old fish, and some interactions I wasn't super happy with as far as a customer service standpoint goes. I know I'm kind of holding a grudge, but my money, I'm gonna spend it where I want. But yeah, any other questions, thoughts? You guys gonna make some pho soon, tonight, tomorrow, this week? Because you should, because it's awesome. And again, if you do make it, please post pictures. Thank you everybody who posted pictures 2 weeks ago for Indian food. It was awesome. I am tardy on getting your recipes from last week. Sorry. Paella kind of took off a little bit, and the free time I thought I was going to have kind of turned into making paella for people, which is awesome. But I owe you some recipes for bison and lentils and Brussels sprouts, so I want to get those to you. Oh, I'm finding some beef bones, dude. But yeah, you should. I don't want to see photos, please. I will throw some ideas for some different regions. I like the idea of maybe doing a little tour, a little world tour of culinary expedition. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So if you have ideas, feel free to hit me up, post in the thing. I'm all about whatever. Let's make it fun. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Adam. That is levity in the chat, everyone. Thanks, chat. But I'll post some stuff. There's a really cool chickpea dish from Spain that I'm a big fan of. Really big fan of. But we could talk about some Italian food. We could talk about French food. We could talk about, man, we could even try English food if we want. Stuff some shit in the stomach. Let's do it all. Let's have fun with it. In the meantime, have a great week. Be safe. Drink beers and enjoy what looks to be a pretty decent weather week. Get out there and be socially safe, and I love you guys. Thanks so much. Don't forget to like, follow on Facebook, and subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way to supporting the channel and the growth, and just kind of allowing me the motivation, inspiration to keep doing these things. It's a lot of fun. I can't believe like a month ago I decided to do this. I'm really enjoying it. So as for always, have a great week. Thanks to everybody, and I will see you next week.